Welcome to another episode of Drug Dealers to Businessmen. I'm your host, Duane Cofield. It is August 22nd, 2022. This is the weekly tap in, and I'm tapping in. Hope all is well. Hope you guys can hear me. It seems like I'm not coming in that clear. Okay, that's maybe a little bit better. I don't know if I need to turn my mic up or what. But truly hope all is well. Man, it's been a minute. It's been crazy. I thought we were going to be back on Facebook. I can go on in a couple of hours, but I'm like, let me stay consistent. So for my people who are tapping in with us, yeah, man, it's been crazy. But one of the things that I wanted to really stress is like this episode. This is episode number 23 of season 3. Forget the how, right? We can't worry about the how. Like, how did we get here? How do we get to what is that? We do 30 episodes a year, so we're on episode 83. How do we get to 83 episodes? Who cares? Right? Who cares? It doesn't matter, right? At the end of the day, it doesn't matter. Can't worry about the hows of life. But anyways, those who are tapping in, those who are watching live, make sure you guys comment, put where you're tapping in from, so we can give you a shout out. Those who are watching on the replay or listening on the podcast, we certainly appreciate you rolling with the brother. We've been through it. We've been developing. We've been getting better. So it's a treasure and a treat to come and talk to you guys every week to work on my consistency. Is that's something that I'm really working on. And Facebook will be back on Facebook next week. I might even go live tomorrow just to kind of tease and say welcome back as we're back in effect. But yeah, man, things have been happening. Some of the things that we've been moving towards from a business standpoint, we've been looking at, getting a food truck and all this stuff. So it takes some, you know, I don't have the money all the way. I don't know how I'm gonna do it. What up, Samuel? Shout out to the ATL. One of those things like, when you look back at your life and you try to figure out how all this stuff took place, even how the miracle that you are got here, you don't know, right? You don't know the hows. You don't even looking back at your goals. How did I get through college? How did I get this crib? How did I get that car? How did I make it out of that? How there there a lot of times there's no answers, right? And the reason why there's no answers is because the only one is God. And God, and I think we've talked about this in the past, like even though God is there, he doesn't appreciate you looking over his shoulder. So if you're looking over somebody's shoulder, you're questioning the how. That's you're wondering, okay, so how are you gonna make this work? How are you gonna make this, you know, how are you gonna make this gumbo? You want to be in the kitchen as opposed to appreciating the magic that they're gonna bring. You want to know the how, right? You want to know the steps. And a lot of times when you're trying to go after your goals and dreams, you don't the how is irrelevant. You know what I'm saying? Because if you knew the how, you may take a long, not direct journey there. You know what I'm saying? So it may not be a direct, and it may not be attractive, which can potentially discourage you. In the past, I've recommended a book called The Dream Giver, and I recently reread that book or listened to it rather, and it reminded me of that place, right? That we get when we're too far away from our past, but not far enough to where we're towards our future to know what's ahead of us, right? So we get this place, I think it's called the Wastelands in the book, but it talks about that, right? And we're trying to figure it out and how we're going to get there. And that's usually where worry starts, right? When we start to think about the how, that's where the worry kicks in. How am I going to make this happen? And you start to go put these scenarios together because we're as educated and our brain works and it works in our favor to a certain extent, but then it also starts to work against us. And what I mean by that is it's protecting us from danger. So a lot of times the risks that are involved with entrepreneurial endeavors, things like that, our brain's going to try to talk us out of it logically, which is why we need to focus so much on the how, right? It's almost like sitting down and watching a movie and somebody like my wife sits down with me and watches a movie. She's like, well, what's the movie about? And I'm like, that's the whole point of watching the movie is to be surprised and not know what the outcome is going to be. Because if you knew what the outcome is going to be, then what's the point of watching it? Right? What's the point of going through the ups and downs and letting that writer take you on this journey? Same thing with your journey. What's the point of going through the journey if you already know the outcome? Okay, I already know I'm going to be rich. you kind of lack your way through life. If you knew you had an inheritance coming, I'm gonna make 100 million. By the time I'm 30, I already know I'm getting $100 million. You're not gonna try that hard. You're not gonna explore certain things, and that's almost like the gift that God gives you now. He got 100 million waiting for you, but He's not gonna tell you the how of you're gonna actually get it. You're gonna have to go and figure it out, right? You're gonna have to go and poke the box. You're gonna have to go out and try different things in order for you to figure out what's gonna get you to that 100 million. One of the things that I'm doing now, and I always reference myself because, like I said, advice is subjective. The thing that very well may work for me, the thing that is my success or that really helps my success may not work for you. So you need to find out what works for you. I give you just the framework of what I'm doing, right? Discipline, how I'm putting my plan together. But the my how may not be your how. My why may not be your why. So I really want to preference that. You know what I mean? I don't want to lead people on to make you think that, hey, he said to do X, Y, Z. No, no, no. That worked for me, but you need to do whatever it is that you need to do. Now, the fundamental things are getting out and trying things, believing, all those things are fundamental, but you got to find your own path, right? And you got to find your own instructions and listen to what God is saying to you because he has specific instructions for you, not anybody else, right? He only built one of you guys, right? He only built one of us. We're one of a kind. Even if we're twins, we're still our own individual. And with that comes its own set of instructions for success, best usage, all those things, right? We come with those, but God has them, right? God, because he knows, hey, I have it set up for this. He runs on this. He gets excited about this, or she gets excited about that. This is what motivates them. Everybody has individual motivations and reasons why, right? So, and the reason why I'm saying that is because my reason why may not be yours. You may have a completely different, but it doesn't matter because at the end of the day, we may be shooting at different targets, but as long as I talk about aim and precision and all that, then the target is irrelevant. So I wanted to preference that. But in addition to that, when you need instructions or you need, you know, know how and how is this going to happen, it takes the joy away from the danger, the risk you take, the pride you're going to have in developing your own stuff and, creating your own systems and creating your own businesses and ideas and watching them work. There's a certain thrill and excitement that comes with that, right? That can't be duplicated. So I'm saying all that to say, man, be glad that we don't know, right? Be glad that we don't have the hows. Be glad that we don't have that information at hand because if we did, it may demotivate us. It may not make us want to get out there and go try some stuff, right? It's like buying fish versus fishing, right? Anybody who fishes, right? It's a completely different set of circumstances, right? When you're fishing versus going to buy fish. Now, I got a 99 ranch right up the street from me, which if anybody knows has all type of fish, even the fish that you go fish for in the Pacific. Like we got link cod, rockfish, sculpin, all those things that you catch on out right out here in LA off the coast. They have it in the store, but it's not as exciting going to buy a rockfish in the store. Now, if you go out there on that boat and you catch it, that's the thrill, right? When it's yanking your pole and you can't pull it up and you've been out there on the boat and it's wobbling and all that stuff, that's part of the thrill. That's part of the excitement, right? We can buy anything, right? But it's the excitement that comes with achievement, right? It comes with um pride. You have a sense of pride that you can accomplish something, that your hands can create something, that your ideas, your thoughts can create something, right? That's what you want to focus on. You don't want to focus on things that are handed to you. And if God told you what was going to happen and say, hey man, it's going to be like this, you might not make the same moves that you make it. And he wants you to experience every emotion out there, like Nipsey Hussle said. There's no difference between me and anybody else. He said, man, I experienced every emotion that there was related to this game. The highs, the lows, the losses, and that's part of the becoming a veteran in whatever industry you're in. My wife told me that, man, this is part of the game. I'm sitting up there like, man, my pockets is touching. I got these businesses, but COVID, this and this and that. We need to get our revenue up, all these different things, right? But then this is part of your story. This is part of who you are. This is part of your a sense of accomplishment, right? This is maybe chapter 1 through 5. You can't get automatically, hey, I'm up, I got 5 or 6 businesses. Well, how did you do it? Right? There was an article about a guy who made this money off of Bed Bath and Beyond. And when you look at the comments, they had posted it on Facebook or something like that. And they were like, yeah, he made $100 million off of selling stock off of Bed Bath and Beyond. And it was like, yeah, he got $25 million from his family and friends. And everybody checked out once they said that. And rightfully so. Like, the average person doesn't have access to that type of capital to make a play like that. Right. Even though he may be smart and nobody wants to take away from his his acumen, his business acumen, or just how knowledgeable he is about, short selling and all that stuff. But the average person doesn't have that kind of capital. But again, like I said, that's a story that you read about. It's a story there's not a lot of pride in that. Somebody hands you 25 million, you make 100. Oh yeah, yeah. It sounds great until you talk about the $25 million advantage, right? And that's part of the process. So you don't want to know everything, right? A lot of times you don't want to know how it's going to happen. You don't want to know who sacrificed in that process, who loses, because sometimes when you get a certain position, somebody may not get that position. So you don't want to know everything. You don't want to know how the sausage is made, for lack of a better term, right? That's too much information sometimes, and it'll curb the way you're thinking. So right now, like I had mentioned, we're interested in a food truck purchase. So I'm looking at that right now, which is I'm researching, I'm looking at it, finances are there, and I'm looking at the finances, and I'm like, man, I'm trying to make this work, and I don't see it. I see maybe where I can get part of the money, but I can't see where I'm gonna get all of it. And that's one of those times where you have to take it out. You have to constantly take your logical process out of it. Because if you look at the way the world is set up, half of this shit that's out here right now was impossible, and people didn't know how it was going to happen, right? A lot of this stuff was not supposed to happen. So you got to think almost illogical, like, okay, I just need to work on my part, which is the dream and the work. The how, the universe has to figure that shit out. That's too much for me, right? The universe is going to have to meet me halfway. I got this. Okay. I'll dream it. I'll visualize it. I'll do all the steps that are needed to take on my part. I'll work. I'll seek out my opportunities. I'll show up. I'll make contacts. I'll make phone calls. I'll do everything that's necessary on my behalf, everything that I can do on my power. But the universe, y'all going to have to work out that other stuff. How am I going to get another 50 grand? Damn, I have no idea. Right? I have no clue. But I know I will, right? If it's for me and it's destined, it will come from somewhere, right? And a lot of times you'll know that it's for you because you don't have to work that hard towards it, right? If it's something that you got to really grind and grit and twist and excuse me, and manipulate, then that's too much work. That sounds like the enemy's work. Right? God works, he puts stuff in bowls. So if you're not where you want to be, you don't have the gift or the bag that you think you should get. Excuse me. Grab my water. Sorry about that. It's probably because you're not ready yet. And that's okay. You gotta go. I'm so sorry. You gotta go through your you gotta put in your work. So you got to go through your trials and tribulations. You got to take L's, just like us in the hair game. We got 100 reviews on Yelp, 4.5 stars. We've been at that for 7 years, 7 years solid. And we took our ups and downs, bumps and bruises. And that's what made us deserve those stars, right? Because we worked our asses off trying to get them. You know what I'm saying? So, same thing with the chicken. We've only been at it a year. And we're already talking about trying to expand to a food truck, that's a huge shift, right? We're not making that kind of money, right? But we got to figure out, do you want to invest in this? Is this something that you can foresee in the future? If so, walk that way, right? On some Denzel, the Book of Eli, go west. I don't give a shit if you can see or not, because that doesn't matter. Follow the instructions of God. What's it telling you? What's your gut telling you? What is intuition telling you? Because that's your direct line to God, is what your intuition is saying. What is that? What is that warm feeling? All right. Do you feel good about it? If you don't feel good about it, then walk away. Because you want God to confirm that this is what you want. Because a lot of times we go after things of what we see, right? What the next person has, whatever they pop up with, that's what we want next, right? What do you want next? I just want whatever is better than what he or she has, right? I don't have an idea, but whatever he or she gets, I want to get a better version of it. That's not being original. That's not living out your destiny. That's not fulfilling what God has for you, right? He does, and the universe. I'll say that uh synonymously. Like the universe and God are one, right? And they hear what you're saying. They understand, and it takes a while. It's not going to happen immediately. It takes a minute. It takes a minute for them to formulate everything in the universe to work together to give you what you need at the right time. Not before you need it, but right as you need it. And that's difficult, right? Especially for us who my family is known for being impatient. My dad was impatient, my grandfather was impatient. So we don't have a lot of patience. And then when we looking in terms of time, we have to rushing God. That's what that how. Man, how you gonna do that? Why? Because we on a timeline. I need it by this. Man, slow your ass down, homie. You need it whenever God decides that you need it. Whenever God says, all right, it's time for you to have this, that's when you'll get it. Outside of that, you're not getting anything. You may get some lessons before then, but the how, don't worry about that, right? Take your lessons, go to school, go to class, right? Going to class means showing up every day and paying attention, because the lessons and the teachers are literally everywhere. And he sends them at the right time. But if you're not paying attention, you're goofing off, you're playing around in class, you'll miss it. And that's why it's so important. Like, even I'm doing a research project and I'm reading all these articles on belonging and et cetera, et cetera. And it's like, well, why am I doing this? Well, one, you may need to understand that may help you from a marketing standpoint of how to get people to create community from your, particular product. So there's a lot of things that I can use from it. So now, because I've been in school for so long, because I understand how education is layered and what it does, I'm not taking a day for granted, especially when there's an opportunity to learn. That's every day God's message to you and gift to you. If you have the opportunity and the ability to learn, which means you got a phone, which means you have the internet. The challenge is, and this is where we run into the challenge is, what questions do we ask? Right? How do we know? Well, you got to start with the most basic one. You got to start with something. How do you do this? And one of the beautiful things about the internet is that it will continue to give you more and more to take you down a rabbit hole. And a lot of times going down a rabbit hole can be somewhat not necessarily beneficial for time's sake, but it can get you to ask other questions. It can get you to other information that you may not even thought about from that standpoint, right? It gets turn you on to different types of information. So it starts with one question. It starts with asking something, right? Getting curious. This is what I tell people all the time. Get curious. Now, don't get curious on how God works, right? Get curious on things that you can learn in the process, because at that time, you may not be ready for your blessing. You may not be equipped mentally for your blessing. So it may take some time. It may take some resources. It may take you to get some education in some form or fashion. A lot of times our lessons cost money, right? They're $2,000 lessons, $1,500, 500. There are all kind of lessons available. Depends on which one you want. If you're paying attention to what God's given you, then you don't have to worry about paying for it. A lot of times they're gifts, but if you want to go outside and study, not focused on what He's giving you, yeah, you'll have to pay the price. So it's not for us to sit there and question how God's doing something. It's how much am I learning? How much am I taking advantage of the day? How much am I taking advantage of the messages, messengers, and blessings that God is sending me every single day? You got to pay attention and count them, right? It's so easy for us to get into that funk to where we stop appreciating our own shit. And the reason why we do that is because we turn around and look into the left and to the right. Those aren't our lanes. That's not going to help us win our race. Their times are not our times. We need to focus only on our lane. What speed are you going? Why? What was my last lap? That's my competition. I don't know where they are in their lifetimes. I don't know if this is their first, last, beginning, middle. I'm not concerned because whatever's for them, they're getting and receiving. And you need to come to terms with that. A lot of times it's hard. You're like, damn, man, I'm homie winning, I'm losing. So what? You're not losing, you're learning. He may have already passed that class and that test. You don't know that. You don't know where they are. So the thing about it is don't block your blessings by trying to figure out how and when they came about their blessings. That's between them and their universe, right? So you need to create your own by focusing on your own and blessing them, right? Wishing them well, sincerely, because you know yours is coming, right? It's difficult. Oh my God, it's difficult, right? To see things in that light when you're going through such darkness, right? You may be at a different dark time. I've been at a dark time for the last month or so, man. My father passed, right? So then my son's mother passed, right? So a lot of things has been going on, and I'm like just really in a dark place. But that doesn't mean that I have to absorb that, right? I'll take that feeling. I'll buy that emotion or what I'm going through, but I don't need to pass it along to anyone else, right? And I need to get out of it as soon as I can emotionally can, right? Which is very difficult. But these things like this help me out. Me coming and giving you, right, my message being that vehicle for God and the universe to talk to you to say, come on, man, ask me for more. Ask me for more because I can give you more. Please ask for more, right? Say what you want to say, right? Put it out there in the universe. Be careful you tell you don't want anybody blocking your blessings, but at the same time, if you got somebody that can speak life into you, speak it into them and see what happens. See if you can return the favor, right? We talk about intentions all the time. All the time we talk about intentions, reciprocity, et cetera, et cetera. And I was listening to a tape on Kanye, and one of the things that he said, excuse that uh the phone call. But yeah, one of the things that he said was um the people, when you give them a compliment, right, or you do something for somebody else, you can't control their intention. You cannot control their intention at all. You can't control their responses, right? So you may do something, but he said people give for the wrong reasons, right? They may give for another reason, right? And then, or for the specific reason of getting something in return. So a lot of times that whole thing takes place and you had the wrong intentions the entire time, right? You gave for somebody else to say thank you. You gave for somebody else to return the favor. You gave for the wrong reasons in general, and that's kind of what we do sometimes, right? We give them for the wrong reasons. We're not giving to walk away from it, man. Let me give them advice and be done with it. Let me give them this and then walk away from it. That's difficult for us to do sometimes because we want, they didn't even say thank you. They didn't say, man, that's, you got the wrong intention. Do what you need to do and then be done with it. That's it. Right. So yeah, man, that's kind of what where I am with it. I can check myself and say where I went wrong. I can also be absorbent of the lesson that God's trying to teach me, right? The humble thing, right? Your time is just not right now. You need to learn XYZ and slow down and let it come to you, right? Things take time. You need to have things attracted to you. You don't need to go out and chase them. We've said that over and over again. Like one of the problems is chasing it, and that's really wanting to know the how. How are you gonna do this? How is this gonna happen? I don't know how I'm here right now, right? To be honest with you, in the place that I am, at the time that I am in my life, I don't know how I'm here. And that's the beauty of it, right? I shouldn't know. I don't I just know that it was prayers and a lot of serendipitous things that happened in my life, right? Some things that were hurtful, and but that's just a part of the way life is structured. But to that benefit, right? How did it work? I still don't know. And I'm not going to know how my next blessing is going to come or the one that follows that. I just need to be in the right space mentally to receive it. I need to be on the right side of karma to receive it. right? And I need to pay attention to how to keep it. And a lot of times that's in the lessons that you're handed on a day-to-day basis. I cannot stress enough that you need to learn things every single day, right? And they're at the most random places, right? It could be ear hustling on a conversation on a walk. It can be exposure to something and it made you look up something else. Like I couldn't figure out why Riverside was called Riverside, but it's next to the Santa Ana River. It's a city that sits directly next to the Santa Ana River. So that's no longer a wonder for me, right? It's as random as I don't know what, doesn't really matter, right? But look up those things because it can lead to other things. Also, I learned about chicken and why chicken was looked at, or why black people absorbed it, because steaks were the premium, right? Caucasians and whites thought beef was the best thing back in the day, and they used to just kind of frown and look at chickens as yard fowl, and it wasn't really nothing. They didn't think anything about it, so we took it and absorbed it and made it. Fried chicken made it really good, taste good, etc., etc. That's because they didn't look at um, you know chickens as being a prime meat. They thought it was whatever meat, and that's the benefits about looking things up when you want to know things. We have that ability now with Google. So whether it's a business idea, check something out. I've been researching food trucks. 50, some of them 75, the ones that are fully equipped, 75, 80. There's stipulations that are involved. There's a manufacturer in Texas that manufactures them for like 63 out the door, fully equipped, just not painted. So you got to start asking questions, digging. What do you want? Everybody wants to go in business, but are you willing to do the due diligence and actually go through the stages and do some research? There's a lot of brands that are being birthed in certain cities and towns. Be part of that process. I encourage you to do so, right? It's going to take time. And I appreciate the position that I'm in to even say that to encourage you to do so. The library, the internet, there's so many different things out here that can teach you about marketing, content marketing, business structure, LLCs, sole proprietorships, S corps, um, tax write-offs. This everything you can imagine under the sun is just a Google away, just a Google search away. And I encourage you guys to start looking stuff up. But more importantly, make the call. A lot of times we'll see the phone number, we'll look it up that night. Things will be closed, so we have an excuse of why we didn't make a move. I encourage you to look it up and then call, follow through, see what somebody says. Let them close the door in your face. Let them tell you no, but tell me how I can do it the right way, or whatever the case may be. Nothing is impossible. Nothing. I don't care what it is. There's nothing impossible. You just need to figure it out. It may not be possible right at this moment, but there is a way that you can make it happen, right? So this is what I encourage you guys to do. Take a step. Don't worry about how. Do not worry about how. Just start taking steps towards your goals. You can't worry about the how. The how is not your job. The what and the why, that's your job. That's all you need to focus on. The what. What do I want? Food truck. Why? It's going to make my life easier. It's going to help us build our brand, which can hopefully change the trajectory of our family and the income involved in that. What else? Universe got to figure that other stuff out. Bottom line, that's on the universe now. I did my part. I'm gonna do my part, but the rest of the stuff is 100% on the universe, and I believe in it. That's the deal too. You got to believe in it. You can't worry about where it's gonna come from because you don't have no idea. If you start looking, oh, I think it's gonna come from here, it may come from a completely different direction. You may get a random ass investor who tasted your food and just says, you know what? I think this is the greatest thing since sliced bread. Here's 100 grand. Get this thing popping. Get this thing in other people's mouths. Let's make some money. Stuff like that happens, dog. You don't know who you're going to run across. You don't know who's going to taste your food. You don't know who's going to try on your shoes. You don't know who's going to wear your shirt. You don't know who's going to do what. And it's not your concern. It isn't. It is up to the universe to figure out how it's going to get to you. You can't worry about that. That's between God, the universe, and let them figure out the heavy lifting. All you have to figure out is your why and your what, right? And what that is based on your exposure, right? Who around you has done something similar? because that's what's going to inspire you. If you start to stand around people who are just doing these things, right? You start to hang, like I tell my mom we went on a vacation and me and my wife paddleboard. We paddleboard pretty much the whole time we're there. We just take turns, go back and forth, go out to the bay. And like I told my mom, I said, there's a saying that says, you hang around a barbershop enough, you're going to get a haircut. And pretty much she got on the paddleboard. And that's the thing, you're around that influence, and that goes for even business owners, ideas, seeing hustle. I follow a lot of food guys and the food brands on Instagram. And when I see what they're posting and their activity and how they're growing as brands, it inspires me. But it shows me also, I go back really far and look at their first post and to see it, okay, because what I don't do is compare my day 365 with their day 10,000, because that will break my spirit. That will break me down. That will cause me to think that my product isn't good enough. That will cause me to think that I'm not where I'm supposed to be. I'm right where I'm supposed to be. There's a poster of Jeff Bezos on line. You gotta look it up, Amazon. He's sitting in an Amazon spray painting and just like a little billboard and it's spray painted, and he's sitting there with a chair and a phone. So that's what you want to compare yourself. Okay, he got a chair and a phone. He's got it. At least my shit is printing, right? At least I got a legitimate print or whatever the case may be. But I'm not looking like that, right? So you don't want to compare. And sometimes we do that. We sit up there and compare our day 366 with people's day 10,000s, right? And these people have been professionals, been through the up and down. They got a financial backing, and you're sitting up there like, man, where my food truck? What can? And you got to put in the work, homie. You got to put in the work. It's as simple as that. You haven't done enough yet. Your time will come, but you got to put in the work, right? Let the universe work out the heavy lifting. Don't worry about where you're going to get this from. What you need to learn. I need to learn financing. God ain't going to give you a blessing if you're not prepared. So you need to get prepared. How do I get prepared? What do I need to know? Like me, I heard somebody say, I bought a book on food trucks. Period. I bought a book on food trucks. And what it showed me was um, how to buy a food truck, what to spend on it, what to expect if you get a smaller food truck. Think about the capacity. Can you wiggle in there? Can you move around? And then one of the best pieces of advice that it told me was go to the health department, talk to the person in charge of the food trucks, and look at their specifications before you purchase a food truck to make sure that you don't have these problems once you purchase the food truck. Tell me what I need to have on here. I'm about to order one from Texas. I want to make sure that I have everything together. Here's what you're going to need. Here's the specs you're going to need. Send them over to them. Make sure that they follow all these specs. Now I'm saving myself some time, but I got that gain from making a purchase. It's like $4 or $5 on Audible. But there's a ton of stuff on there. Whatever you want to know about, information's out there on Amazon. Your local library has a lot of stuff on it. But just get interested and curious and start Googling stuff. Start figuring out what makes sense, right? And that's your why, right? You're doing the why and the work. You're doing what work you need, which is the visionary work, so that you can make sure that you get the right thing, right? That you get the right um, um, if it's a vehicle in our case or whatever, a restaurant, store, whatever, that you have it set up right so that you know what to look for, what to ask for. Get a retail book, take a retail class so that you understand what triple N is, right? When it comes to leasing, commercial leasing, that you understand about parking spaces when it comes to commercial leasing. You can understand about square footage, right? Sales per square footage, right? Certain things that you need to track as a retailer that can show whether you're successful or not. But how do you learn these things? You got to learn, you got to go to school. And if you don't want to go to school, buy the book. Spend some time with it. It's going to make you want to go to school so that you can talk to somebody and find like-minded people so that you get your idea off the ground. Because that's ultimately what you want to get done, is get this idea off the ground, put it out there to the world, and make sure that it's a proven concept. Bottom line, right? Because that's what we're on. At least that's what I'm on. Entrepreneurship, motivation, trying to get you guys cracking, man. Period. You know what I'm saying? We've been through the ringer. We know how that goes. Use these skills. Let's transfer them into millions, man. That's what our motto is. Converting street skills into millions. We all have street skills. but how do we convert them, right? What can we turn them on to? The homies doing, I talked to them about that too, fiber optics, putting other homies on. So cats are getting money, right? It doesn't matter. You figure out a lick, the same thing. Cats, the hustle doesn't change, right? Just the target, period. But yeah, man, still reading the Complaint Free World. I'm almost done with it. I'm also listening to my food truck. So let me show you guys what that looks like. Um, I'll show you just, that's the thing. Like it doesn't take much to get these things. Let's see. My library. So I just copped that. I'm listening to that right now. Let me show you guys. Those who are listening, um, it is called, and I'll tell you the title right now. It is called Food Truck Business Guide for Beginners: colon, Simple Strategic Plan to Build and Maintain a Successful Mobile Business by Sean Durant. Really good book. Telling me the ins and outs. Long, but you can see right here, 5 stars. Really, really, really good book. Let me. I don't know if I'm. Hold on. Oh, there you guys go. So yeah, that's what I'm listening to right now. I'm still listening. I mean, I'm still reading A Complaint Free World because I'm trying to work on my complaints. I was a little in my feelings this weekend, man. Missed the homie's birthday party, so I'm really mad about that. I let the enemy kind of get on me, pull me down a little bit, and I didn't want to. Yeah, so man, I'm not gonna say I'm not without my struggles as well. I always want to keep it 100 with you guys, man. I go through the same emotions as you, man. Am I doing the right thing? Am I going the right way? My and you question stuff, right? You do. It's just a natural human thing when you're going on a path that you've never been on, and there's not a lot of people that can share that experience with you. You feel like you're kind of lonely on it, right? So you feel like, man, am I doing the right thing? You're constantly questioning yourself. But I'm here to tell you, if you're questioning yourself, you're absolutely doing the right thing. Don't quit. Don't tap out, tap in, dig deeper, go harder. Period. That will conclude the weekly tap in for this week. I certainly appreciate you guys. We will be back live on Facebook next week. So those who are missing us on Facebook, we apologize. Those who are listening on the podcast, we certainly appreciate you for rocking with us for this little bit of time out of your life. We certainly do appreciate that. Grab some good books, get some good sleep, rock with some good homies if you can. If not, rock by your damn self. But mainly, man, tap in with good information. Don't worry about the how. God and the universe has that figured out. You just need to know your why and what, period. That will conclude our weekly tap in. I'm tapping out.